Hi, I'm Pam Day. I'm with JFCS in Pittsburgh. I've been here a little over 4 years. I was a career consultant, but I'm transitioning into a new role for the agency, which is a workforce supervisor. So kind of taking on more of a management role within our career development center. Like others, we service a broad range of clients from, right out of high school to, well into their 70s, from, entry level to, C-suite executives. So pretty diverse base of clients. And my new role, it's still, like I said, it's still developing. We'll see where it goes, but moving away from direct client services at this point.
Good for you. Congratulations. Paloma.
I'm Paula Rodriguez. I'm from Gulf Coast JFCS, Tampa Bay Job Links, and I'm a career strategist and looking forward to getting more involved in these meetings.
Good. Welcome to one of your first ones. Robin?
Robin Winters with Tampa Bay Job Links, which is now Gulf Coast JFCS. I'm in Tampa, where it's finally warming up a little bit. I've been there almost 11 years, and I'm a career coach, and mostly now I do workshop development and presentations.
Great. Paloma?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I am the director of the Social Services Department at the JCC of Staten Island. I work with Kathy in the same room. I'm going to go see what's going on with the microphone in a second. And we're just joining your group. We're very excited to be here.
Welcome. We're excited to have you. And Dale, you just joined, but we're just introducing ourselves. Why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Dale Norman. I work for Jewish Vocational Service of downtown Boston. And in that role, I'm also subcontracted out to Jewish Family Service for a program called Ready for Success, working with people who are looking for employment.
Thank you. Welcome to our group. Lizzie, you want to go ahead and start us?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year, officially. Happy New Year. I think that for most of you, this is my first official meeting or engagement with you via Zoom. So Happy New Year. How's everyone doing today? Everyone's good? Okay, great. And like Allison mentioned, Lisa is not here today. She is out sick. She's not feeling well. And so Lisa was supposed to facilitate this workshop. She had planned to lead this discussion around recharging your careers. So recharging your careers, and we are going to just kind of go from there and move forward. So feel free, anyone, to hop on the mic or in the chat, but I wanted to ask the question, what do you think she meant by recharging your careers? Just to kind of get some thinking going. We're at the top of the year. We just ended 2023, the holidays, everything that has happened last year. And so now starting a new year off with your clients and working and doing the work that we do, it can be a lot. It can be stressful and just kind of getting back into it. So recharging your careers, anyone can hop on or put in the chat. What is your thoughts around that?
Looking at it another way is, what are your mental health challenges? Some of you have done this for 25 years. I've done it for 14, 11. Some are new at it. Some are changing positions. What will your challenges be? I'm an ex-school teacher.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call on people if you don't start talking.
I was just going to say, or what have your challenges been? Even if it's coming out of 2023, what have some of your challenges been?
The challenges, when I looked at this attending today, it wasn't more my personal challenges. It was more about how for my team, because I find sometimes and they don't recognize, like I wanted them all to attend this. I asked Lizzie if this is open to everyone. She said yes. And I forwarded them, and none of them attended. And then this morning, one of the people that I supervise, we had a discussion on how he has trouble like leaving this at 5 o'clock, like how he sits with it. And I said, well, one of the things like I asked you if you wanted to he says, well, I have no trouble, but I said, yes, you do have trouble. You just told me you can't leave this at home. You take it home with you. You can't separate from it,
Yep.
So this is kind of what I was coming to this today and on like tips and how to help my team disconnect and not, compassion fatigue and all that. And, if there's resources or tips or things that you can help me help my team, because I think they're the frontline workers. They're dealing more and more with very difficult caseloads because people that don't have challenges are finding jobs very easily in this economy. So their caseloads are more and more increasingly difficult clients and trouble sometimes, like leaving at 5 o'clock and not carrying it with them.
Absolutely. And so I would like to say to that, I mean, none of us are, and correct me if I'm wrong, but none of us are therapists here, right? Or clinical clinicians here. So we're basically learning and sharing from each other as it relates to, we all do the same work. We're in a social services environment. We work for nonprofit organizations. So it's human services, it's social services, even though we are not necessarily a social worker or a clinician. We are workforce development professionals, but very similar to the same population that social workers would, or social clinical workers would service, which is trauma, hard to serve, we serve the same populations. And so it can affect us very much so like it affects them. And it also can be overwhelming and stressful and tend to, like your colleague, take his work home, or it's hard for us to leave or separate. But there has to be a separation, because if we can't take care of ourselves or have that disconnect, how can we really be our best for our clients? And so that's the focus today. And so we're going to learn from not only each other, but Allison, as well as myself, we did do a little research, and I do have some resources that I can share that I'll follow up after this meeting to send, so you can share with your team. But that's the focus for today. So learning from each other and sharing what we all do, to help move forward. So I know, Pam, you were going to chime in.
Yeah, I think it's important to find some balance. I think when we have heavy caseloads, we tend to, that's the first thing we always deal with, the email that comes in, the phone call that comes in. So kind of building into your schedule, whether it's a meeting like this, professional development, whether it's for yourself or your staff, making sure that they realize that is a significant part of their job as well. So they don't have that guilty feeling like, oh, I'm going to this meeting where I'm talking to other professionals, but I'm not really doing my job. Like, that should be my lunch break or something like that. Telling people, no, this is really part of your job. And so when you look at, like we tell our clients, it's important to block your time. And I think it's the same thing as professionals, to really look at our schedule and look, what are we doing? Are we doing client casework from the minute we come into the office till 5 o'clock, and then we're dragging it at home, or are we actually building in time to do other activities to develop ourselves as professionals and to give ourselves a little bit of that mental health break?
I agree. Having balance is so important. Taking your lunch breaks, stepping away from your desk, your computer, even if it's just walking around the office, or if you're at home, taking a walk or a stroll outside, is very important to kind of disconnect and take a breather and then come back. And I know that it's easier said than done, but that also allows you to kind of have that peace, in between, to kind of reset and recharge, even if it's for 30 minutes throughout your day. So anyone else want to chime in? We're talking about, of course, thoughts around recharging.
Yes, I agree, like with everything that you have said, especially taking time to breathe. I do have a license in clinical work. I'm a social worker, but I have been working for more than a year in a clinic, and I just switched to this job because of burnout. I mean, the workload was so intense that it was just, I had to stop. I still have some clients at the clinic, like very few, but I'm here full time, and I started a couple of months ago, and I'm seeing some of those signs of burnout in my staff, like in the people that I work with, that are being thrown into doing these impromptu therapy sessions with clients, because if you're working in this field, you have empathy, you kind of connect with people in a different way, and when they come looking for help, you just want to help, and then you just put everything you have into helping them. So one of the things that has been very clear to me is that we need to learn boundaries, and that's something that we struggle with big time. Boundaries with clients, boundaries with our own time management. And I think that anything that we can learn that will help us making those boundaries a little bit more guilt-free would be really welcome.
So I agree with what everyone said, and what we're finding in Dallas. I'm a senior director. There's 5 people in our department. We're adding a 6th one within the next couple of weeks. But before the pandemic, we were busy. And then during that 2-year semi-hiatus, we were working, but not getting, obviously, a lot of new clients because no one was going into jobs or there wasn't a lot of hiring. Now there's a lot of hiring. There's also a lot of unemployment. And like this week, we got 9 clients. 2 of our coaches are financial coaches, 3 of us are career coaches. And so when you already have a caseload and now you're adding 9 more, and then this week already we've got 6 starting that we'll review on Monday, I don't know where we're going to be able to go. So my fear is that we will be short-handed, therefore not have the direct focus. And the people who are coming have, I think Paloma mentioned it, many more challenges than we've had from people in the past. So it's not just, oh, I got laid off, or, you know, I moved, or whatever. It's really challenging positions. It takes so much more case management as well as directive coaching management. There's no time.
I agree. Yeah. So, my next question, I know that a lot of us been in our field in this industry for many years. And so the way we operate and the way we move have become our norm. What are some signs or symptoms of being burnout? What are some signs or symptoms that you have experienced or that you've witnessed coworkers experiencing, or, you know, that they've mentioned to you, or just from just being in the industry? Like, what are some of those signs or symptoms that you can share with the group as it relates to being burnout? And
what do you see happening with your team?
I can start just being overwhelmed. You know, being overwhelmed, overworked, feeling overwhelmed. A lot of us, we like to work under pressure. That's where we get some of our best work completed. But being overwhelmed, believe it or not, is a sign of burnout. If you can't manage your day-to-day work and activities, and it's affecting you emotionally, that's a sign of burnout. So what are some other evidence or other signs or symptoms that you can kind of identify with? And you can put it in the chat, or you can hop on the mic and share.
So even though I'm supposed to be co-chairing this, I do have all these challenges because we also, every director here has to carry a caseload. And so one of my challenges, and one of the things that oftentimes just bogs me down, both mentally and physically, is that there's many new programs that we are getting involved in, and they're time stealers. And when that happens, it's I work longer hours. I'm sometimes short with people when I shouldn't be. Those are the things that I've noticed about myself and other team members when somebody's in a job and they want to change jobs and we have to work nights, and, you know, asking other people along with myself to work evenings as well as your regular, you know, 8 to 5, you can see the demeanor in people change and the way they speak. So people are
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We have Paloma, she mentioned anxiety, depression and stress in the chat. And those are definitely signs. Absolutely. Absolutely. I put in being easily triggered. So, you know, being agitated, that is definitely a sign. Easily frustrated, taking your frustration out on others, not in the workplace necessarily, because of course we all carry a certain demeanor in the workplace, but think about it when you go home to your family, you know, and you kind of relax and put your guard down. It's easily to take your frustrations or being overwhelmed out, not necessarily that you're doing it intentionally, but that is a sign of being overwhelmed or burnout when you take out frustrations on your loved ones. And it can be as little as someone didn't wash the dishes, or, you know, and that's how it all kind of tied together. Like your spouse or your child didn't wash the dishes and they were supposed to wash the dishes, and you just kind of blow up in that respect. But it's mainly, you know, that's a sign of being overwhelmed or burnout at work, and how it kind of carries in different parts of our lives. Even physically, you know, having headaches, stomach pains, and intestinal issues, those are signs. I mean, stress and anxiety, that brings on health issues. So it all plays a part in our physical and emotional and mental well-being. So that's why it's important for us to have these conversations.
So I also, in this stress, at least in Dallas, and it's probably all over, is in every department, everybody from our C-level staff who are being asked to do more with less, and the demands are changing and they're different. So today at 9 o'clock, I had a meeting with our CEO and our COO about a new project we were asked to do by United Way, who's one of our big funders. And the project is 20 months and very time consuming. And I asked that we not do it. We do other projects for United Way, so it's not something that needed to be done. And they said, no, we have to do it. United Way funds us like $500,000 a year, and we can't afford not to have that happen. Plus they're being supported by another nonprofit who funds us with a large amount of money. And so sometimes I understand their processing and their thoughts, but I almost felt like I wasn't even being heard, that they had already had a preconceived idea of what they wanted, and I could have said anything and it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, we're so stressed right now that stretched, not stressed. We're so stretched right now. I thought this commitment for the next 20 months was going to be quite painful, and it will be, but I almost felt like I wasn't heard. Does that ever happen to anybody else? And what are your feelings when that occurs? Anybody? This is what happens here stays here.
Oh yeah.
I would say you feel very disconnected, you know, and you kind of feel like the people at the very top are not really paying attention to those of us who are either managing the direct line workers or are the direct line workers. And then I was hearing that, you know what, this is a great opportunity, but where are the resources coming from? You know, are you going to add additional staff? And I think we're all dealing with this. We keep trying to add additional staff, but we can't find staff to add. So we're spending a lot of time, you know, trying to get new employees in to deal with the additional money that's coming in programs, but there's a lag time. And I think sometimes people aren't realizing that. And it's always like, oh, it's another opportunity. It's another opportunity. We have to do it. We have to do it. But no one's saying, well, what else can we take off your plate? If it's something that's that important, what else can we do? Is there something we can take away? Or, shift it somewhere else. But I don't think we get a lot of that. It's almost like the strategic planning, you do these plans or 5-year plans, but nobody's looking at sort of like the 6-month or yearly plan. It's like, just if something comes in, we're just going to jump on it.
Right.
But I think it's, pushing back a little bit and saying that's fine. If you feel that this is a top priority, what can we do to alleviate some other stresses, and what can we take away from other folks within our organizations?
Yeah, I agree. Just to go back into the chat to share some of the comments that our colleagues have put in here. So Kathy stated, yes, I agree. The demeanor changes in the way people speak to others when they are stressed. That is definitely true. When you're stressed, it's kind of like, watch out, because you're not necessarily, you're trying to just burn and get it off your chest, but it may not be in an effective way, especially if you're in a professional environment. So that's why you want to kind of manage those stress levels. And that's why we tend to take it home to our people that, our family and friends that don't necessarily judge us or don't have an expectation of us, at least in a professional environment. Dale stated setting boundaries and then finding that they are not being met because the needs of the job. So yeah, boundaries are very important. I mean, Pam mentioned that earlier, setting boundaries are very important. And then Paloma said you can also get sick easily. Immune systems can get compromised. Absolutely. And that goes back to the mental and physical, emotional state of mental health and being burnout. So you definitely have to take care of yourself. And that's something that Lisa is practicing now, and why she's not with us today, because she really wanted to be here, but she had to take time for herself to get herself better. And so Lisa, what we're talking about right now is we're talking about overall recharging for the new year and how being burnout and mental health can affect our daily work, especially in the work that we're doing as the population that we work with, the environment we work in with social services and nonprofit. So feel free to jump in if you have anything to add, or put it in the chat as we continue the conversation. Okay, all right. So
can I add something?
Sure.
I think something that's interesting for me as well, sort of being this kind of in-between generation, is dealing with very elderly parents as well, and trying to balance that part with what I do. And I find that to be much more of a challenge. And I don't know if other people are running into that as well.
I'm sure she's coming.
I do find that to be a challenge. And I know that's not part of the job, but that brings a lot of stress into the job.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's not a part of the job, but it's a part of you. And you are the temple, basically, of how you have to juggle all of these things. And so having your personal responsibilities, your life at home, and then your life at work. And that's why, that term work-life balance. And you can be overwhelmed at home with personal things as well as at work. So we tend to do both. We tend to take work home and tend to bring home to work.
Ms. Miller, Mr. Miller?
And that's basically how.
Hi, I'm here to assist you with the
Yeah.
Yeah. I am.
Do hear some
You're welcome.
background noise. I'm not sure. Okay, there we go. All right. Anyone else before we move on? Paloma stated in the chat, you can also isolate yourself after work, as you might find you don't have enough resources to function beyond work, which is true. You're so exhausted when you come home from work or mentally drained. Sometimes, I know when I used to work in direct service, a lot of times I would just go home and go to bed. That was my only option to kind of like eliminate the stressor. And I would just go home and get in the bed like, okay, I'm pooped, I'm done. I can't do anything else, which is not necessarily healthy, because did I eat dinner? Did I, spend time with family? Like there's things that you still have to do in your home life that is affected. So, and especially if you're married, if you have, spouse at home, now that could possibly be an issue with neglect. And, so it all plays a part. When I say neglect, meaning they may want to have a conversation or chat or watch a movie, but you're so exhausted from your day. So just having ways to have intervention in between that is important.
And I think Dale brought up a good point that the stressors are not only at work, but they're also at home. So sometimes you can't leave it. You walk out the door, you might leave the work stress at home, but then you
go home to the stressors at home, and vice versa. Yep.
So that causes a lot of physical and mental anguish for anyone. And it's a challenge all around. So we have someone here who's going through a messy divorce. And as much as they don't want to bring it to the office, it happens.
It's inevitable, especially.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's you want to have empathy and feelings for the person, but sometimes it's like, can't you just leave it today? No, I do understand. I really do. But
like, we're here to work, focus.
Yeah. And if I were going through what this person is, I would be exactly the same way. I'll be honest with you. So it really depends on what's going on in and outside the home. With that being said, there are some things and strategies that we can do. Now here in Dallas on Thursday afternoons at 2:00, we have a holistic person come in, and we either do yoga and or relaxation exercises. It's a safe place to talk. It's for 1 hour. It's open to everybody. We never get more than 5 people, and we're 100 people here. So there are people that utilize it and people that don't. And it's I find, and the person who does it is awesome. And I find it very fulfilling for myself that 1, it's a safe place to say things. And 2, she's really working. I mean, she studies healthcare not healthcare workers, mental health workers and service people to be able to talk about and include that time, that healing time. So, just an idea. Do any of your agencies help you out or do anything, or could you suggest some things? And what are those things? Pam.
At our agency, we have a pretty large mental health division. So a lot of our social workers and therapists, they do offer programs. Some of these are every other week.
Nice.
Some of them are monthly. So they do things like there's a meditation that's done every 2 weeks. They do group therapy once a month. Trying to think what else. There might be some other ones that are ad hoc, but those are the 2 that are pretty regular. And the way they do that, to send it out as a calendar invite to everybody. And it's like it automatically populates your calendar. Now it doesn't say you're going, it's still showing up in Google as clear, but it's like, it's on there. And so you kind of look for it, but kind of like you were saying, we're an agency now of probably about 130. And we probably same thing, but there might be 5 or 6 people that attend. And it's, I think when we first started doing this, it was during COVID and there was a lot more attendance. Maybe people just had a little bit more time, or people were feeling so disconnected that they wanted to just be with others. But now I think that people are so busy, no one's really taking time for it. And that's kind of what I was saying before, which is really making sure we take time for ourselves. But I know some of the managers are really kind of putting that in, in your HR goals.
Mhm.
Right.
Sure
Yep.
that you actually have this time, and whether it's professional development, whether it's programs like this, making sure that you are actually doing that and holding you accountable for
Yep.
going to those programs, which I guess arguably could create even more stress. If you're feeling like you have to do this to keep my job, but maybe it's just necessary just to remind us that, like I said before, your job is more than just responding to clients and their needs.
Mhm.
It has to be part of your own professional development, your mental
Yeah.
health, and the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Dale, what do you do? What does your organization do?
Well, I kind of have an interesting situation because my job is really sort of very, very boutique in terms of what it is. I'm sort of working very sort of away from what the organization is doing, and I'm working just with Jewish clients in both sort of both parts of my job. There have been like virtual events, most of my work is virtual. I meet with clients on Zoom. So I've gone to some of the lunchtime things, some of the virtual things. But I'm hearing an echo. I don't know if people are hearing that too. But anyway, they're virtual events, and there've been yoga events and all sorts of things like that. But it really depends on whether it fits in. If a client's in crisis and there's some kind of virtual event that's going on, or yoga event that I've signed on, I'm going to let that go and meet the client. Just sort of coming back to the comment that I made previously, the people I work with are incredibly supportive. But the clients that I'm working with in the one particular job are really incredibly needy and going through really difficult times, homeless, all sorts of things like this. I was finding that I spend a lot of time. I mean, for me, the difficult thing is I spend a lot of time writing up notes and then needing to share the notes. Because it really helps the case managers in terms of understanding their clients. So what I wanted to put in was that, I just like send something to, the sort of person who's in charge of everything of this one particular group, and that she would share. But I find that I do that, and during the week I still am sharing all of my notes because the case managers really need it. So that's the kind of boundaries that I'm talking. Like, they were all in agreement with the boundary of like, yeah, sure, we'll share everything. But the truth is they really need the notes in order to deal with the clients, because sometimes the clients are just talking to me and are not talking to the case managers. So it's a difficult thing. I mean, boundaries are really a difficult thing. And I feel fortunate that I've got such amazing people in both sides of the job that I work with. But I find, and I found in the time that I've been in this job, that clients are really in crisis and getting to be more needy and needing more and going through enormous difficulties. And, I've got one particular client who, when he gets very stressed out, screams and shouts at me. And it's just a matter of, do you get upset about it or don't you? And I don't get upset, and if he drops F-bombs all over the place, that's just what he does. So it's just, it's an interesting sort of conversation for me, because boundaries, I was hoping to come away and say, okay, so this is a boundary, but where does one really put a boundary, and how do you stick to a boundary when the people out there are homeless, and you're trying to just give them some kind of balance in their life, or help them in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. Can anyone relate to what Dale is saying with any particular client or experience that you've had in the past? Can you offer any suggestions or recommendations for her as it relates to boundaries? And Dale, I'm sorry, I didn't get your title. I know you had mentioned that the clients come to you instead of the case manager. Are you
Yeah,
a case
yeah.
manager as well, or?
No, well, in one, in one I am. I wouldn't say case manager, but in one, I'm sort of like the everybody comes to me, and then I will assess the client and see where they go from there throughout the
Okay,
system.
so
The
it's you,
other,
and then they
yeah,
get assigned to a case manager?
no, they don't get a case manager. Those are unless I think they do need a case manager, and then if they fit into a certain geographical area, I can make suggestions, or if they have some kind of disability, I can make recommendations. I can make all sorts of recommendations for those clients. But I'm sort of the place where these clients come, and it's like everybody comes through this. Everybody comes through this one area. So that's the one part of the
Like
job. The other part of the job is everybody has a case manager, which is actually, you know, I mean, having case managers is a fantastic luxury when you're dealing with a case manager, because they're dealing with, you know, a lot of this other stuff, and everybody who is searching for a job is in crisis, whether they have a case manager or not. So it's a very interesting, you know, I mean, I feel fortunate to have this very, very interesting job. But a lot of the clients are in crisis. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Robin. You're on mute, Robin.
No, I'm not. Thank you.
There you go.
Years ago, when I was a child, I was in counseling for a long time. And I remember asking my therapist, how do you do this all day long, 5 days a week, not knowing that I would be a career counseling, do it all day long, 5 days a week. And he said, boundaries, but he said the thing is to figure out a way to not internalize other people's stuff. He said, because that's what happens. We take on their burdens, we take on their pain, we take on their financial situations, which we can't do anything about anyway, because you got to send them off to the person who can help them. And that stuck with me for a long time, because when I started doing this work, which was many years ago, I thought I can be empathetic, I can be sympathetic, but I have to be very careful about not putting myself in their shoes. I'm not in their shoes. I'm there to support them and send them resources and do what I can. But boundaries, and then I just stopped internalizing. I don't know, it was a matter of time, I think, where I just did this thing in my head saying, I feel badly, I'm here to be a resource, I'm not taking it on. And it really worked for me anyway. I thought it was one of the best pieces of advice I ever got.
Yes. And you know what else? That also creates them to get to the path of self-sufficiency, or to be able to manage their own troubles or their own issues. Because what a lot of us can tend to do without realizing it is to become enablers of our clients and hold their hands a little bit too long. We should be pushing them and giving them tough love, instead of, because the goal is for them to come out of their current situation, right? So it's not to baby them. And I know it's easier said than done, but we got to remember our overall purpose while we're here, to get them to that next level so they can, I don't want to say fend for themselves, but become self-sufficient and not need our program. Some is going to take longer than others. Some are going to get it sooner than others, but the goal is the same for everyone. But if you're not equipped mentally, physically, emotionally, you're going to be an enabler, and you're not doing the client a justice, you're doing them a disjustice. So remember that. And that will kind of give you like, okay, yeah, I remember being in this class and I have to push them. I got to take myself out of the situation. And maybe that'll kind of give you a little more motivation, or give, you know, yourself a little, give yourself an opportunity to show your client a little more tough love, so to speak, and hold them accountable and not take on their situation. Because you guys know, all of us are in the same industry. Clients can be manipulative. They know how to get what they want, and they know exactly what to do for you to give it to them, or for them to get them their ways. So you have to make sure that you're reading between the lines and holding them accountable on their part.
Right. There used to be the saying called when you were in counseling or with a therapist, the 50-minute hour. And what I learned to do was to say, oh, that's it for today. I'll see you
Yes.
next week. And
Yep.
just, sort of mentally push back and they go, oh, okay. And you make another appointment. But that took time.
Yeah.
That took time because I thought, oh, I should be helping them. I should be doing more.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You should do as much as you can within the parameters that you've established that relationship. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
We talk a lot amongst the team when we're working harder than the client is to find a
Right.
job. And we've gotten to a point where we will now tell a client, I'm working harder than you. I don't think you need me anymore because
Yep.
you're not working hard enough to do it.
Right.
So when you decide, we have an open door policy, when you decide to put the work in, you can
Yep.
always come back. And we've started firing clients when we're doing the resume, we're doing the introductions. We're doing everything. So we've really started, again, I think that we're going to have within the next 52 weeks, all of us, an influx of more clients. I truly believe there's going to be a challenge for all of us. And when you're doing the work and they're not, I can't hand you a job. I don't have a job. That's not my job. My job is to prepare you make sure that when you do everything right, that you can walk in there and get the position. But anyways, we have started firing some clients who don't have the motivation to do the work. Because I'm not going to, I loved when you said don't internalize. That's what we all do. And I'm going to steal that line from you. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'm honored.
Allison, I'd love to talk to you offline of how did you remove or stop enabling services to clients that were not doing the work? Because we struggle with that. How long do you carry someone? And it takes away from services from someone who does truly need your services with the limited resources we have.
It really does. And I'll be honest with you, my manager hates to hear that when we do that, but she
Absolutely.
from the clinical side, so she understands. But we will talk offline. But if anybody's interested, we really have started telling our clients, sorry, you can come back when you really want to get a job.
Yeah, because we keep re-upping some of the same individuals, and it really is taking time away. And the other thing I wanted to just kind of thank you, Allison. I really do want to follow up with you though on that one. One of the things too is we're talking about enabling our clients and becoming enablers, but it also holds the same thing holds true in the workforce. Sometimes we have individuals who we take on and we feel like we need to do more and take on their workloads in addition to ours, and we're enabling them. We're doing things that, we're doing it in triplicate. And so to me, for me, the stressors in the workplace, not so much the clients as much as some of the stuff that we continue to do that isn't value added and adding on to an already heavy workload. So sometimes you have to take a step back, re-examine why are we doing what we're doing, and is it value added to the organization as well as to our client? And if it's not, it goes. But that's hard to do when you're in a situation where you've always done it that way. So that becomes a challenging 2023 or in any environment, always looking at what you do today. Is it value added? If it isn't, you need to examine it and determine whether or not it's something you need to do, and does it free you up?
And I was going to say, if you do that, then you'll have not more time for more clients, but more time for you. Take that space and you say, wait, I'm not giving it away. Right? If we become more
It's also
efficient,
hard
that
to
means
do
I
where-
have more time.
Sorry. Yeah, we're very challenged here. Our major funder is our government, Service Quebec, is 3/4 of our funding for our 45+ program, and they changed the funding model. So now we are required We're funded according to our intake, number of clients we see, and the number of hours we spend with each client. So we are now, and because of the economy and everything else, we sort of take anybody we can. Clients that in the past we wouldn't take because we knew, forget it. We send them somewhere else when we had no problem with numbers. And now we're like struggling to meet even 50% of our intake numbers. And we're gonna, we're supposed to spend so many hours. So the better clients, we're saying don't penalize us because they're finding jobs quickly. And then the ones that we would have closed because they're not motivated, because we're doing most of the work, we have to work with them because we need the hours. So it's so frustrating for our workers, and we can't do anything because of the constraints of the funding model. And it's like a huge problem, and it's affecting the morale of the team. And it's really difficult. It's a really difficult situation.
So I absolutely agree with you. We get a lot of funding from 2 city organizations who have changed their model. So I said, I stated from United Way, we get a $500,000. We got $850,000 before, but because they changed their model according to what is new and different and is the verbiage for the day. So with all those different things occurring, plus we've lost some government grants and different things. So in all actuality, we've had to really hunt for money elsewhere. And I'm doing a workshop this is my plug. I'm doing a workshop at the conference in May on where's the money. Where else can you find money? Because we're going to have to do that. The government's cutting, the social service agencies who have supported the donors who have supported us, more people are asking, so they're spreading it out wider. And so there's other dollars. We have to be able to go to them and find those dollars. And they don't have the restraints that a United Way has. So as an example, and this is a stress that I have, finding the money to be able to support the program and the new things that we're adding, it's a huge stress to me. In fact, I write it in my review every year that it's one of the things I dislike most about this job. I shouldn't have to worry about that, but I do. We all have to. And so with that being said, those additional dollars, United Way has a formula that every nonprofit for workforce, everybody has to follow and put in the numbers. We've changed our formula because many people's goal is not always the job. They just want the right resume. And so if we don't get them the job, even though we've achieved the goal that they want, and again, we're not counselors, we're coaches. So we listen to what they want versus telling them, well, we'll do this and we'll get you a job. That's not what I want. So having to re-educate funders has been a real challenge. And finding additional revenue, lots of it.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
I'm gonna follow up to that, or before I move forward. Okay. All right. Okay. So I know at this point, because we're about 5 minutes to 2, and of course, we usually allow individuals that want to stay on to continue the conversation, but I know that there's others that may have meetings or may have to jump off for 2 o'clock. So I wanted to just reference, Allison did put her email and phone number in the chat, and then I just put a link in the chat to the National Association of Social Workers. That's an article that I pulled up, and it's about burnout and some tools and techniques that you can do to assist. And then there's other articles around it. It's professional development and some other stress relievers. So that's a good article to read and just share with your colleagues as well. And if anyone wants to stay behind, feel free. But if anyone have any questions at this time, we have about 5 more minutes to continue the conversation. And then I know Allison and I, we usually stay on a little bit, Allison, Lisa, and myself. usually stay on a little bit, but any last words from anyone around this topic? I think that this is a great topic that Lisa chose and, you know, wanted to speak on. Very important, obviously, and it affects all of us, obviously, you know, although we're in different states and in different agencies, we support the same population, and the majority of our missions are very similar to the work that we do. So everyone can relate to this topic. And so I'm sure that we will discuss it in the future. And all of our new folks that are here, we welcome you to come back. We meet every month. So I'll definitely capture your email addresses and make sure that you get the alerts every single month so you can know what we're doing and you can stay connected. And yeah, thanks everyone. If there's no other questions, I will release you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you
Thank you for
so
coming.
much.
Thanks,
Nice
everyone.
meeting you all.
As well.
Have a great week.
So for those of you who are still on, just to let you know, next month, we're going to be focusing on retention and staff turnover, some of it caused by the things that we just talked about today. So it should be a really good topic and ways to help people stay in the job, because it's just treacherous when they leave. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Allison, I'll reach out to you on a separate time if that's okay.
That's perfect. No problem.
Great.
I'll look forward to talking to you, Paula.
Thank you.
Thank
Look
you
forward.
all. This was
Thank you.
great.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks, Paula. Thanks,
Bye now.
Robin.
Bye, Robin.